Welcome back, and how you guys doing? Good, I hope. Just like my last workout, today I'll be going heavy. Well, heavy for me anyway. I'll be starting the heavy squats off with some warm-ups. Always a good idea if you plan to go heavy. I ended up going heavy for 3 sets, 6 reps for squats, and at the end of that, went ahead and tried to squat 310 pounds. I guess that went about as well as could be expected. My normal squat weight typically is somewhere between 145, 155 for reps. And here I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I ended up starting out with 195 for my 6 reps for squats. That's pretty heavy for me, but none of it means anything at all unless I have good form. So that's my concentration on the next 3 sets. And it's always a good idea to belt up if you plan on squatting heavier than normal. As for me, I'll typically belt up at about 200 pounds, somewhere in the neighborhood of anyway. This set actually felt really good. And that's probably something to do with the 3 months of leg training that led me up to this point. When I started 3 months ago, there's no way I would have been able to squat this. And definitely not for reps. Now this first set I'll use as sort of a baseline. And then I'll add weight to it. And every time I add weight to it, I'll just tell myself, oh, you just added a little bit. This is no different than the last set you did. And I'll just keep doing that as I add weight. Basically talking myself into squatting and pretending that I didn't really add weight at all. And so this is 215, and I'll just tell myself, oh, this is no different than the 95 pounds I just squatted. And I'll do those mental gymnastics for the next set. And this is 235. But oh, this is not different than the 215 I just lifted a minute ago, I tell myself. And all that works just fine and dandy until I slap a whole bunch more weight on there and try and squat 310 pounds. You'll see what happens here in a minute. And here we are at 310 pounds. I tried to talk myself into the, hey, this feels no different than 335. And nope, I was only able to get a partial rep. Personally, I'm glad I didn't get stuck on the bottom, and that I was able to re-rack the weight. Anyway, on to leg press. This is about as heavy as I've ever gone with this machine, and I end up going way heavier than this. Four 45-pound plates on either side is way heavier than I've ever gone. It doesn't end here though. And so this is 10 45 plates all together, which is 450 plus whatever the sled is. Not too shabby, I guess. Strangely, the next day after all of this, my legs weren't actually sore. So maybe I'll have to add sets and reps at some point in the future. Definitely more weight, one way or the other. And this is about my favorite way to hit calves. I do like it on the Smith machine, but this is, you don't have to think about anything other than calves. You don't have to balance yourself or hold weight or anything. When I used to go to public gyms, I used to like the seated calf raise machine. But for me, it's just something about legs fully stretched out and doing a calf exercise, like on a leg press machine or the Smith machine, like I just mentioned a minute ago, where your legs are fully stretched out. For me, it just feels better, and I think it's just a preferential type of thing. Here on the shoulder part of the workout, I didn't do any kind of pressing movements. Instead, I just did heavier than normal dumbbell side and front lateral raises. And I polished the whole thing off with Smith machine shrugs. I think the hardest thing when you're doing dumbbell side lateral raises and the front lateral raises, when you go up in weight, is to fight the urge to swing the weight. It is heavier, and you're naturally looking for a mechanical advantage, and you just have to fight that urge. Try to maintain control of the weight as if it's a lighter weight. Seems like common sense, but I don't know about you, but I have to keep telling myself that as I'm raising up heavier weight than I normally use. Now, unlike the leg part of this workout, the next day I did definitely feel the shoulder part of this workout. I really didn't give myself that much of a rest between sets of these dumbbell lateral raises, front or side. That probably was the main contributor to the soreness. These I like doing, even though a lot of people say, hey, don't do them, because you'll hit the front delt with bench press and military press. But I just like the isolation to the front deltoid. Here you'll see me do something with this exercise. You don't see a lot of people do that often, and that's raise both dumbbells at the same time. Typically people will alternate left and right. I do it because it just feels good, and there's nothing wrong with doing it the other way either. In fact, most of the time I will do it alternating from one hand to the other. It just, I like to mix it up every so often. There are a lot of ways you can do a shoulder shrug, but for me, Smith machine beats them all. And if I were you, be sure to explore and find out what works for you best. And this is for every exercise, not just this one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.